I'm Beth. I'm from Belmont, Mass, which is about 15 minutes away from Harvard. I'm a junior right now. I study economics and potentially thinking about getting a minor or a secondary in psychology.
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm a junior in Adams House, and I study electrical engineering with a minor in economics. Extracurricular activities on campus. I'm involved with the Harvard Composers Association, and this semester I just joined the Asian American dance troupe.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a junior at Harvard, living in Adams House. I study electrical engineering with a minor in CS. I live in Adams House, and yeah, that's about it.
Hi, my name is Sean Narayanan. I'm a current junior at Harvard. I'm a math concentrator. I'm originally from Kansas.
I think the social life at Harvard is a bit different from most schools. So I rushed a sorority last semester, so it's my sophomore spring, just because I felt like there was some stuff missing, and that's been a big part of my social life. There's a lot of events that we have, but there's a lot of controversy surrounding kind of the social scene here. So we also have final clubs, which are kind of they're more exclusive clubs that are invite based, so you have to know someone in order to get in, and that makes the social scene a little bit exclusive, which the college is currently trying to fight. It's kind of like there's a lot of things to unwrap there, but they're also kind of fighting the Greek life on campus, and none of these organizations are actually recognized, which makes it really difficult to get a lot of funding going or really publicize events on campus, because the school just does not recognize them as actual student organizations. So that's part of my social life. I think a lot of social life here is based on external clubs that you do, so outside of classes. And so my freshman year I was in the Harvard Crimson, and that contributed a lot to my social life. But after that I decided to quit the Crimson, and so starting sophomore year, that's where I kind of was looking for different spaces, and that's kind of why the reason I rushed. So I think it's definitely hard to kind of find that social space, because you have to really be part of an organization to go to certain events and know people. But I think it's also really easy to find friends who are similar to you. So I realized that as a junior, I've gone out a lot less than I used to, just because I think as a freshman, you're so excited to go out and like see all these amazing people, just party with them. And then as you get older, you're like becoming more of a grandma, so you just want to like finish your work and go to bed early. But I still have like my roommates and all my friends, so we just hang out in our own room as opposed to more bigger events.
Well, for me, I study engineering, so that's all that needs to be said. No, but personally, I feel like most of my friends I've just met ad hoc or through classes. I don't really have any specific organization that forms the basis of most of my friends. Although this past summer I did research here, and that was a very tight-knit community of about 200 Harvard students who spent the entire summer together, and as a result I made a lot of friends there.
So my social life mostly consists of my club activities. Stop laughing. My social life consists mostly of my social interactions with clubs. So I'm part of the robotics club on campus, which is now a pretty big organization with over 100 members, and they have I believe it's like 2 to 3 parties every semester. But besides that, I attend a party every now and then, especially ones that Dan invites me to. Can you stop laughing?
Oh, so my social life is great. So you know that there's only 24 hours in a day, right? But I actually spend 25 hours a day in the math lounge. It's this certain place in the science center. It's really great, and you do math all day. Occasionally, I'll learn a lot about, Gawa cohomology, which is a term that I totally made up. It's probably something that exists, in math, but I don't know.
I would say to my high school self, to not worry too much about the future. I think that's something I'm dealing with right now. But a big life lesson that I've learned is that lots of people don't know what they're doing. Like even adults who you think have got their life together, like even Harvard professors, I would say, don't know exactly what they're doing. You know, everyone's just trying their best to make it work, make a difference in the world, but it's okay to just not know anything. And even when you feel like you don't know something and you're just doing things because either that's what you've been told by your parents or your friends, or that's what you feel is the right thing to do. And I'm talking in terms of like picking a college or picking a concentration or major or career path. It's all going to work out in the end, and just follow your gut. And then good things will happen, like surprises will come along when you least expect it.
I would tell myself to just calm down, keep doing what I love, and keep being good at what I'm doing. Also, if you ever go back and read your college essays, you'll really cringe at them.
So I would definitely say to myself, don't worry as much as to where you actually end up. I feel like especially towards like junior and senior year, I was very concerned with where I was going to go study. And while everything ended up working out okay, I realized looking back that I was way too concerned with the entire application process. At the end of the day, I do feel like there's this whole idea, as long as you apply to enough schools, there's this idea of like fit, and that really does come through in the schools that do accept you, of like how you'll accommodate there, how you'll be able to get used to that culture. But yeah.
One thing that I'd say is, spend more time actually doing stuff that you enjoy and spending less time doing like what you might find like annoying work. Because, for example, like a lot of the classes that you're taking in high school, like they matter like to an extent, but if you're not like particularly interested in a lot of it, it's like not that big of a deal if you like do a little bit worse or like aren't like the best in those areas. So I wish I'd spend more time like doing math. Wish I'd spend more time like playing sports, stuff like stuff that I had a lot of fun doing back in high school.
So I live with 3 other roommates, and the 4 of us were a blocking group, which is how you decide where you want to live for the next 3 years after freshman year. So you have a blocking group that can be yourself or up to 7 other people. And so my 4 roommates live together in Elliott House. It's the best house on campus.
Yeah.
But I am involved with House Committee, or HOCO, which is kind of like a student council for the house. It's all undergrads, and then the faculty deans are involved as well. So I was just elected HOCO chair, which is like, I guess like the president. So I'm going to be running all the HOCO meetings, planning all the formals and events for the house. And it's been a really good way to meet new people and just get to know the community that's here. House life, I think, has been really great. There's a lot you can do with Elliott, and it's a really nice way to have a smaller set of people that share something together.
The location is absolutely fantastic. So for those of you who don't know, Adams is the house that's closest to where everything is. Maybe the inside's a little bit less modern and sleek, but we're called the Gold Coast for a reason. Maybe we have a little bit less spirit than most other houses do, simply because we're in 4 different buildings. But starting in 2019, so that's when Adams will be renovated and will become forever and ever the best house at Harvard.
And so I live in Adams House. Currently, we're living in a 3-person suite. It's not the best rooming situation. It only has 2 singles, but we renovated the common room so that one of my roommates can live in it. It's not optimal, but Adams House has the advantage of being really close to a lot of classes and a lot of Harvard Yard locations as opposed to other houses, so that's a huge advantage. In terms of social life, I'd say Adams House is definitely less social than a lot of the other houses. I mean, I'm not a huge proponent of house spirit. I don't really participate in a lot of Adams House activities. But I will say, like, in terms of location, it's extremely nice. And besides that, I would say that our housemasters are really great. We have, like house teas every Thursday. Actually, fuck, we don't have. Do we have that every Thursday?
They're called carpets.
Yeah, we have carpets.
They're steins.
We have these like parties every Thursday that are a lot of fun. Lots of free food.
By the way, they're called faculty deans now, not housemasters.
That's true. They're called faculty deans. But besides that, I'd say the one big drawback of Adam's house is there are a fair number of pests in the house. We've had, over the last 2 years, we've had 2 mice in our suites. Both of them, one of them we've killed, one of them we've humanely captured. The killing was not done by us, it was done via a mousetrap.
If you like, for example, really hate mice and cockroaches, you probably don't want to live in Adam's house. If you're okay with long walks and really hate these things, you might want to live in the quad. If you really hate long walks and being, kind of isolated, you might prefer, your occasional mice. You can, perform a ritual to try to get into Adam's house.
Yeah, so it's definitely really tricky to say because none of, people who get into Harvard, none of us really know why we got in. I think what's really important is just making yourself stand out in the application process because tens of thousands of kids apply and they're accepting like 5 or 6% every year. So it's really important that you are one of the 20 people that, they pick 1 in 20, so one of the 20 people that they actually select. And I think, so part of the reason I think I got in is because my application was pretty unique. I mean, I'm from a relatively regular suburban town and it's in Massachusetts and a lot of people at my school actually do come to Harvard. I wouldn't classify it as a feeder school, but I have gotten that. So I think it's about an average of 7 kids get in a year out of a class of 270. So I think that's still pretty high. But I think what kind of helped me stand out is that my application was really based on my love for Latin, which is not a very common language to study. And so I studied that for 6 years from middle school to high school, and I really emphasized that in my application. My supplement to Harvard was about Latin and why I enjoyed taking it. And I also used it as a metaphor, like a cheesy metaphor for life, which I think is what you should always try to do in your essay. And I also think that the essay is one of the most important parts of the application because it's completely free form. You can write whatever you want to. In terms of the Harvard supplement, it's optional and it doesn't really have a topic. So you write whatever you want to, so it really allows you to let your voice shine through. The other parts of the application are really fact-based, so it's kind of like, oh, what's your SAT score? What are your grades? There's not really much freedom into expressing that. So I feel like the essay is a really good opportunity to take advantage of. So I really felt that because I let my love of classics, ancient history and Latin show through my application, it really helped me stand out. So I guess my biggest advice is just to find something that you're really passionate about, whether that be an academic thing like a language or a sport that you love or an instrument that you enjoy playing, something that makes you unique and that you're really passionate about. Because if you really care about it, it'll show. And admissions officers have been doing this for a long time, so they're kind of trained to smell BS. So if you're picking a basic run-of-the-mill thing and just BSing it, they're gonna know.
Yeah, so before I say anything, I just wanted to preface this with that looking at the people around me, I really don't think there's a single way of getting in or some sort of time-tested, foolproof formula. I think the important thing to realize is that there are many necessary factors for getting in, almost none of which are sufficient. So the necessary factors would be strong SAT or ACT scores, really good grades in high school. Even with your standardized test scores or high school grades, that's all considered in view of other factors like your home high school or other things in your application. So even that's not strictly necessary. But I probably, if I had to say one thing was necessary, that would be intellectual curiosity. And there are so common folklore has it that there are two types of people that Harvard admits: the well lopsided and the well rounded. And the well lopsided would be people who are exceptionally strong in one or two fields. And the well rounded would be people who are the Renaissance men and women of our age, I suppose. And so for me, I mean, I couldn't be sure with 100%, but I have no doubt that my activities in music composition played a big part in my application. And
So I personally think I got in due to my extracurricular activities. So I did a lot of robotics in high school. If anyone's ever heard of RoboCup, we built soccer playing robots on my high school team, and that was like a major consideration in my application. But besides that, it's standard affair of having relatively good grades, high SAT scores, and just really being able to express my passion for a topic or for a subject. Specifically, like in my case, it was robotics, but I really did try to convey that I wanted to come to Harvard to pursue a passion of mine. And I think that's what at least a lot of admissions officers are looking for, is reasons as to why you want to come to Harvard as opposed to other schools. So Harvard has a RoboCup team, which I was very interested in joining at the time. I'm currently the president of that team, actually. So yeah, it's a lot of really just trying to figure out why you want to apply to that school and why you think you'd be a good fit, and really making sure that that's portrayed in your essays and interviews.
I think the main thing that I at least tried to highlight was that there are some things that I care about, like I cared about back in high school and I still care about now, at least for some of them, that I really try to emphasize that I probably cared about way too much for my own good, basically. And I think Harvard was like, wow, this guy's very passionate about things that are perhaps valuable, and maybe they were like, yes, we want you. So specifically, I did a lot of I did a lot of math in high school, and I did a lot of science-based competitions and stuff. So for example, our school had what's called a science bowl team, and I took that very, very seriously back in high school, at least to a certain extent, and really wanted our team to do well. Really wanted I really wanted myself to do well, and I tried to highlight that I really like these sort of things. I think Harvard doesn't want people who are I want to get into Harvard. Harvard is my dream school. This is where I want to be. I think that Harvard is looking for people who are more these are things that I'm really passionate about. Maybe I love music, or I love math, or I love poetry, or I love sports, or something like this. If you really show if you show some sort of passion to something, I think Harvard will really like that. And if you show passion to 2 or 3 things, that's even better.